Welcome back, yeah, beauties. We're back here on League Unlock. Eric and Mark with you guys. A little power rankings with some European flavor, and it finally happened, Mark. Our 10th place team, Rogue, has been sitting 10 for every week on our power rankings. They finally get their first win of the split. And by the way, they're still going to be coming in at number 10 on our power rankings, but at least they're going to avoid the 0-18 season.
Hey, I gotta give Rogue major shout out, major props. Hey, I actually watched both Rogue games this weekend. I took the dog out a little bit earlier, no problems. Watched the Rogue matchups, and hey, I gotta say, good win. Good victory for Rogue.
Yeah, I mean, they looked good against Misfits, but literally everyone that has played against Misfits the last 3 weeks have looked really good. Still not enough to take Rogue out of number 10, but congratulations. I see them getting more than one win with this new roster that they're putting out there. Excel also made a roster change, and Special wasn't that special change that got them a win there. 2-8, still at number 9. Misfits continue falling down and having Fnatic ahead of them with a worse record. You're going to have to say, what? Fnatic has looked terrible at times, but over the last few weeks, Fnatic's actually looked better than Misfits, because this week, wow, first, Misfits get completely destroyed by G2. Destroyed is almost putting it nicely, how bad they got bopped in this game. And then you follow up by losing to the 0-9 squad. That's about as bad a week as you can have.
Yeah, it does not get much worse than this for Misfits, but I think that there could be some positives coming up pretty soon for Misfits. They are making the coaching change back to St. Mosvi. I think that is a good move for them to try and get something more from the likes of Hans Sama and Max, or some players that he has worked with for a long time, and I think can help unlock them a little bit here as they're not performing to the level that you need to be. But I think that what you've seen really, and you talk about having Fnatic ahead of Misfits with a worse record, if you look at the last 2 weeks, I'd rather be picking a Fnatic, a team in a bet type of situation, than Misfits for sure, in the way that they've actually been performing and how they've been going about the map. And I think that is something that does cause a pause for concern here with Misfits. But I do hope that this, change up here in the coaching staff and how it affects the roster on the Rift, I think that we will feel that pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm just not sure that Jez's taking a step back is going to be enough to completely change this roster, because it looks like there are a lot of issues. Hans Sama's positioning has been very uncharacteristically bad for him. And I mean, Febivin, it's looking kind of like he's on clutch again here.
Oh boy, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. But Maxlor was getting caught out a lot. So, I mean, the last few weeks have just been real head scratchers for Misfits. We talked about Fnatic in at 7. Then we have Splice at number 6, who still continue to just shape their own meta, where they like to play until that late game. They went 1-1 this week, and the reason they're down 2 spots, as you'll see in the top 5, is just the other teams climbed. Splice looks fine. They still look like they'll be a playoff team.
Right, this is no fault of Splice's to fall down to number 6, which is not a horrible spot to be in the power rankings, but this is just more about the teams that have jumped you here, that are around the same record, have shown us a stronger individual level of performance in their winning matchups.
And I mean, right now in EU, it looks like pretty clear playoff teams. When you're looking at the bottom 4, they're going to have their work cut out for Fnatic or Misfits to really climb back up into that playoff hunt. And how insane would it be if both Fnatic and Misfits missed out on playoffs in the spring split? No one would have predicted that. But if we look at the top 5 here, the first surprise, and maybe not so much a surprise, is SK Gaming. They are now 3-0 against Fnatic here in the spring split. They get back to an even 500, climb up 2 spots to number 5. Selfmade is the front runner for Rookie of the Split.
Yeah, hey, you can't talk about anybody else on SK Gaming other than Selfmade if you want to talk about why they've made it to number 5 in the power rankings, getting to 500 on the season. It absolutely is Selfmade. Selfmade has been an individual performer on a mission for SK Gaming, getting everything ahead for them, getting these objective control done for them. He has been a major player for SK Gaming.
And the top 4, you have Vitality and Schalke, who have been mainstays in that top 3 for the last few weeks now. But the last 2 weeks, they've gone 2-2. They still look like a top 4, what they've put forward. But Origen are climbing 3 spots, biggest climb of the week, all the way to top 2. And of course, anytime you're handing G2 their first loss in convincing fashion, you're going to climb up quite a bit. I know Origen's record isn't as good as Vitality or Schalke, but recently, they've won 4 in a row since the rough start, with wins against Schalke and now G2. So I think they're really coming into their own. Cold is on the best team he's ever been on, and Nuke Duck is playing Zed.
Yeah, hey, this is what I want to talk about now, because Origen is someone that we mentioned 2 weeks ago, looking in their matchups and said, hey, yeah, they haven't been super impressive so far, guys, but if they get one of these victories against a top level type team here in the EULCS, watch how that will dominate and the dominoes will fall here. Get that confidence rolling for this squad. And you saw it this weekend for sure against their matchup against G2. They were stomping them in the way that they played. The clean team play from the likes of Origen. And I think, hey, even a guy like Mithy, who people are going to say, yeah, Mithy still got caught out and dies and blah, blah, blah. And everyone wants to flame on Mithy, of course. But you have to recall, Mithy and Cold for sure are the brains behind the macro play going on here on the Rift for the likes of OG. And that has been a major part in how they've been able to find advantages and get these victories recently.
Thankfully, Mithy and Sven both got revenge against some players this week. So that's exciting for them to be able to do that. But yeah, Origen, and let's say 2 to 3 and 4 right now. Those teams are all super close, and there's going to be a lot of jockeying for position over the next couple of weeks. But they're clearly, Origen is putting themselves in that conversation for top 4. And right now, they're top 2 because G2, even though they lost a game, they are still shoulders ahead of everyone else in Europe. Maybe a loss will be good for them. Maybe it won't be. It's definitely going to fire them up, and I'd be scared to play them in that first match in week 6.
Oh yeah, certainly still the team to beat here in the European region. And when you're looking at far as, hey, why did they lose to Origen? I think when you looked at how Origen approached them in draft and how they approached playing aggressively and not backing down from these solo laners early on in the game, I think that was a large part in how Origen was able to stay in there. But when you look at what G2 is able to do across the map and how they match up against almost every other team here in the LEC, you gotta put them at number 1.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to be number 1 for the majority of the spring split, but definitely not the standings or rankings that we were expecting in Europe this far into the season, because now we're past the halfway point. 10 games under the belt for all these squads, and Misfits and Fnatic are really going to have to dig themselves out of this hole if they want to even make playoffs.
Right, and when you're looking at both of those squads and you're trying to think, okay, well, when are they going to, if they're going to bounce back, when is it going to be? And I think Misfits, you can be looking at this spring split right now that this is kind of the do or die. They got to improve in this split and get some results here. But if you're looking at Fnatic, I think it's more of a longer journey for them, and you're hoping for a better summer split.
At least they want to make playoffs and maybe hope for a miracle run. But right now, even that looks highly questionable.